Welcome back to Stu Structures. We're here for video 5 of the Belington Ice House, so stay tuned. So like I said, welcome back to Stu Structures. I am Mark Stewart and we're here to continue on with the Belington Ice House. This was a nice structure. We're starting to come along to where you can really see it coming together as far as the buildings go. But in this video we have a lot of trim work to do. We have some work on putting glass and windows, starting to get all the roofs laid out and braces and stuff in place for the roofs. And my time is still a little constrained, so let's just jump into this and see how much we can get done this week. You can see all these windows in these buildings. I don't really see blinds in any of the pictures in any of the windows. They just seem to be open windows. I guess it was for available light for working space. So anyway, we got to put the glazing in all these windows, and I have this clear styrene sheets that I'm going to cut all the pieces for. And I just cut them oversized and I glue them, to the wood behind the windows. Now there is a slight separation between the window and the glass, but it's not really anything noticeable. The other thing I need to do before I start putting roofs on these buildings is there's only a couple of places, but I need to put some view blocks in. So I cut this one for this one-story building because there's just a lot of windows down here and I don't want you to be able to see through the structure from one side to the other. And in this three-story building as well, I just need to get it up high enough to where it doesn't block me from putting the roof on, but blocks the view between all the windows. And then on building A here, I just come back and put the rest of the bracing in place to support the roof. And I go ahead and paint the walls around the edges white up above. The roof piece that I had pre-cut, I go ahead and paint the underside and the edge that's going to show this blue, the same as the trim color, and I just come back and glue that piece into the roof system. And now I've got a solid roof in place. Now the roofing on this really isn't visible in the pictures, but it's not shingles or anything else, so I'm going to use roofing paper on this, which will probably mimic what was there. And I just take that same black construction paper that I made the view blocks out of and just cut a bunch of 3-foot wide strips that I'll come back and add onto the roof. Now the doghouse for on that roof, we still need to do this corner trim on it, and we need to get a roof in that. So I put the center brace up above for the roof, and I have a whole bunch of this cardboard that came out of a bunch of boxes years ago from a circus train kits when I bought all that stuff, and I saved them. So I'm going to use this cardboard out of those boxes for all the rest of my roof panels. And I go ahead and cut the 2 panels for that little dog house and pre-paint the underside and the showing edges blue, the same as I did that previous roof, and go ahead and glue those into place. Now I'm going to use that tar paper on it just like I showed you that I cut earlier, and I go ahead and put 2 sides on, and then I just cut a real slim ridge piece and glue it onto the ridge, and other than putting some black paint on it and a little weathering, the roof on that's done. Now in building B, the roof's a little different. I go ahead and put these ridge pieces in, and then I go ahead and put a couple extra braces through the center of it, because this cardboard, over time I guess could sag a little bit, so I just want to give it plenty of supports. I use that same cardboard and cut 2 roof pieces to sides, go ahead and do the blue paint on those the same as I did the others, and glue that into place. Now I'm going to come back and just go ahead and draw the lines on this for the roofing paper just like I did the others, and as I get to it I'll come back and start adding the roofing paper onto the structure. And then when I get to that point, I do this the same way as I did that little house, except there's a lot more pieces, and I put some staggered joints in the papers coming up the roof, and that's pretty much that. Now moving on to building C, this doesn't need as much supports added in, but the lower roof had that one below the wall and then the ridge pieces on the upper building, and I cut all 3 pieces out of that same cardboard. Go ahead and paint the under edges of them blue and the leading edge blue that's going to show, and then I glue those all into place on building C, and that's that's basically all 3 roofs ready for roofing paper, and go on to being finished at this point, and that's the basic structures just about complete. Now I did come back and go ahead and add the lines on there for the roofing paper, so when I get back to do this, that'll already be there and easy to work with. Now the roofs on this 1-story building, you can see there's not a lot of rise in these buildings, but in this next shot here you can see the space between building A and B, and I really condensed that a lot. And so from the door down to the drop of that front wall where the dock area is a lot steeper. So anyway, I'm going to have to deal with that. So I go ahead and start putting my roof line in based on where that door was. And it wraps around this side of the building, so that's where the ridge of my 1-story roof is going to be. And then on this other side, I know from that piece that stuck out on that front side, it's going to come down to meet this back wall. So I go ahead and put one long piece on either side between building C and building B to give me the contour of the roof coming down from that front edge of the building to this back side. And then on that, from there, I know where the roof line's going to be on the back side of building B, and I continue this roof ridge piece on from where that board was, and the same on building C. Now that that board comes all the way across, now I know exactly how high the wall is going to be on that end, so I can pre-cut the wall panel and put corner braces on that and paint it white and go ahead and get it glued into place, and that'll close up that last end wall on this building, and it gives me all the roof lines to work with. Now these roofs are kind of big, and on this back corner there's this tree in the way here, and obviously the roof slopes down from the front of the building on this side too, and I'm not building it that way, and this other picture doesn't show that corner really very well at all. So I'm kind of taking an artist license with that, and you can see here where the 2 ridge lines from the 2 roofs come to that corner, and obviously the roofs don't meet up. So there's a couple of different ways I can handle this, and this I know is not what the original building was, but the drawing on the left is a 1-wall way to solve this problem, and the drawing on the right is a 2-wall. Well, I'm going to do the 1-wall version of this, so I go ahead and cut that panel and put a brace board on the bottom of it. I can pre-paint that white and then glue it into place in that corner. Now I'm going to come back and put some extra bracing in the rest of this 1-story roof to help support that cardboard like I mentioned before. And now that end wall and everything is in place, there's going to be a separation in the cardboard between these 2 buildings that meet this lower wall. So I put a wider gap of wood piece in there so that supports that. And then I start, going ahead and wrapping this other end, and you can see that triangle wall in place where the 2 walls will meet. And then I go ahead and put my extra bracing boards around the front or the dock side of building B, and that's all my supports in for that part of the 1-story roof. Now I was hoping to get to trim in this video, but I'm not going to quite get there this week. But I went ahead and just painted a couple of 1x4s and tons of 1x6s here so that I can come back and start doing all the trim work on all those buildings when I start in the next episode. So there you have another segment of Stu Structures. Once again this week I didn't get quite as far as I would have liked to have gotten. Things are extremely dry here, and I'm just spending a whole lot of time hauling water and watering my nursery, and trying to do all the other odds and ends and do jobs as well. So in any case, it is coming along though, and it was nice to get the strides accomplished that I did make this week. So anyway, jump back here again with me next week and watch the next episode of this. Maybe a couple more. Maybe we can get this building finished. There's still a good bit to do with this and finishing the roofs. We have all those platforms that go around the outside of the building, and there's roofs over those besides the building roofs. And you know, there's some detail on that one roof that we've got to go into. It's going to take a little bit of time. I still haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do all that yet. But in any case, you know, it's all about the sharing of information. I hope you're learning something by watching me build these structures, and, you know, just building up some confidence to where you can build some structures for your model railroad that nobody else has, and that you can feel really satisfied with by putting them on your model railroad. And, you know, it's all about having fun. Happy model railroading.